Welcome everyone for the today. So I'll be taking this session. I am Ashwini Srinath. I am chartered accountant with around 13 plus years of experience into finance domain. So, quickly on whatever points which we are going to discuss today. So, we will fairly get introduced to what is CISA certification per se, what is expectation, and who is the governing body, how the structure of examination is, who can take up CISA certification, and what is basically expected from a CISA aspirants to deliver and get them successful out of the certification. That's what we are going to discuss here. So, we will start off with the introduction to the certification and what is basically expected from this certification. So, CISA Certified Information Systems Audit is a certification which is governed by ISACA, which is Information Systems Audit and Control Association. So this governing body has other various certifications as well, related to risk, related to privacy, data privacy. So they have a lot of other certifications, but generally more people are attracted towards CISA because it has the blend of both IT and finance people as well, since it has a point where internal controls, GRC come in picture. So we have people with different mindset, different areas starting to explore on CISC. So that's the beauty of this certification, and a lot of people are attracted towards this certification more compared to other certifications from other institutes as well. This certification, it is for professionals who are into the field of auditing, not specifically on finance audit, even people who are in internal controls or IT related audits, and who looking for a role in control and security. This is a good start to get understand or get an understanding of what is it all about. So that's on CISA. So CISA candidates must go through this examination, and they have to get the industry specific requirements as well. This is across the same for other ISACA certifications, at least specifically to CRISC and CISM as well. So it has both. One is on passing the examination, second one is on getting the handful of work experience. So on getting the examination, if you ask me, so the out of the two, one is work experience and examination, 90% is on preparing for the examination and clearing. So generally people who come here are not just on freshers, they come with a little bit of an experience as well. In that case, in CISA it requires 5 years of work experience in any of the domains for CISA. This is one common question which is asked for when people say, I mean, Ashwini, I don't have an audit experience per se, but how can I take it? So it does not, they specify on 5 years of work experience on audit or IT audit or finance audit in any of the domains for CISA. If you are able to fit in any of the domains, meaning any of the chapters, so totally you have 5 chapters, so you have to have done any of the area which is covered under here, you are still covered under the work experience per se. So when they ask 5 years of an work experience, they have specific exemption of up to the maximum of 2.5 years for the various degrees that you hold. So I don't want to detailedly discuss on it. You can look for isaka.org website where you will get this details or inputs as to what is the level of exemption that you get. But for any bachelor's degree in total which you hold, you will get at least 2 years of an exemption for it. So 3 years of work experience is what they are looking for. And should this 3 years of work experience should be prior to taken the, I mean, prior to the examination date? No. It can be either ways. So either before taking the examination, if you have 3 years or 5 years of an experience, that is still fine. Or after passing the examination, you are given next 5 years within which you can gain this work experience. So what can happen is that you can pass today, and meanwhile where you gain the work experience, later point in time you can apply for the membership and then get your certificate with ISACA. But still what you have examination that you have passed still holds good for 5 years. But within 5 years you need to apply with ISACA and get yourself certified. So that is on the examination and the work experience per se. So on others, work experience is fine, just on documentation part and submitting that with ISACA and get yourself certified. More important is to be given for preparing for the examination and clearing the examination successfully. So that is more important. Eventually we will discuss as to how, what are the exam requirements, what is the passing score and all. So after qualifying, so CISA candidates must have minimum 5 years of work experience and must undertake 20 hours of training per year to keep their designation. So this is on the CPE hours, continuous professional education. This is after getting your CISA membership, you have to maintain at least 2 hours, or sorry, 20 hours of CPE with ISACA, and over a cycle of 3 years, it has to be 120 hours in total. So round the clock, I mean around the year, you should need to have at least 40 years of 40 hours of CPE in a year. So 40 plus 40 plus 40, it will be 120 for the cycle of 3 years. So this is what is expected, and there are a lot of categories under which you can classify on CPE. So contributing to the community or contributing to um, um, any other articles which is published, or taking sessions or attending webinars. So there are a lot of quite a lot of categories which they hold. But this 20 hours or your CPE cycle will start after getting your membership from ISACA. So that's when the CPE hours cycle will start off, and it is a 3 year cycle of 120 hours in a cycle of 3 years. So that is what is expected from a CISA. So first is basically preparing for examination, clearing, then applying for membership and getting it from the institute. Third one is maintaining your designation across the years. So that's predominantly the expectation from ISACA. Who can go for this certification? So there is no limit as such. There is no basic requirement that only these people are supposed to take this certification. Anyone across the globe, yes, when they are eligible for it, they can still go ahead with, even though it is not within this category. If you're still finding or planning to explore on areas related to audit and control, though from a different background, you can take my same example as me. I am from a finance background, but later point in time where I found my interest attracted towards information systems or controls, I started exploring on it. Similar to, if you have an interest too, you can still explore. This is just a list which gives on who at least can demonstrate or who can look for this certification. Yeah, there is, list is not restricted to people who are supposed to take. It is just open for all. Okay, so ideally it is for IT auditors, IT consultants, security professionals who want to demonstrate their knowledge and expertise of information systems auditing. Individuals in roles such as IT governance, risk, compliance can also get benefited out of CISA. So this is not just one certification. This will open your avenue for a lot of other certifications related to security professionals. If you are planning to do many different courses related to CH or CISSP, this is a good start for exploring those. So you have your basics right on this. You have a strong background of it before exploring on other certifications as well. So, after giving the basic introduction as to what is expected out of a CISA aspirant, now we will switch on to the exam part. How you have to appear for the examination. I guess we conducted a one more webinar last month on what are the materials that you have to refer to. What is the, how is the preparation strategy? Probably you can go through on it, on the preparation strategy, what materials we are supposed to use. So this session we will discuss on what is the exam requirement, what is that purely required from an exam perspective. So after you prepare, fairly it depends on people how they are preparing. If fairly they are able to spend around 1 hour 2 hours per day, probably next 3 months or so, that is the ideal time to prepare for the certification. Now when I'm ready for the examination, what am I supposed to do? So this examination, it is an objective based examination. So there are totally 150 objective based question where you have the A, B, C, D options, and predominantly one is the right answer from it. So it is a 4 hours examination. You can book in your slot. So if I'm in India, so you will have the slot starting from 10 o'clock in the morning. Some centers, I guess 10 is the starting time. So from 10 to 1 is the first slot. After that, they will have different slots. So per day, there will be around 3 to 4 slots. And you can book the examination around the week, Monday to Friday. I guess Saturday and Sunday test centers are not available. But depends on the state and city you are in. So I'm not sure about other states and city. At least from Chennai perspective, they have only Monday to Friday. So 3 slots per day, and in a week, 5 days it is working. So any number of days, any day you can book the examination and write it. So I am predominantly saying from when you take the examination from a test center. Yeah, you have a person view test center. So from there on, you can take the tests, or you can take it in your own laptop itself at home. But I would strongly recommend to go for a test center and write it. So it has its own advantages. One, you can avoid unnecessary anxiety relating to the power issue or internet issue. So that can be avoided if you take for the test center. Next one is that your laptop should be having the right configuration, so it should not throw any errors at that point in time, though they have all the test runs or test before the examination. But yeah, why to take risk on it? And second thing is on the breaks per se, where you have very restricted breaks in the time of taking from home. Obviously it is in your own environment, right? The proctor as well will not give too much of a break there. But in a test center you are watched one on one, so they at least know what you are doing, how you are taking your break. So generally it is advisable to take in a test center, because in this examination purely you need some kind of a break within 4 hours. It cannot be a 4 hours continuous examination. You need a fresh mind. So better to take from test center, but depends on your requirement. If you are in a city where there is no test center or it is far away, then it is good to take at home as well, but purely left to the choice of the student, not a mandate one. And more from an exam scoring perspective, it is ranged out of total 800 points is the total, out of which um, you need to score 450 points. And this 450 points is not domain wise. In total your scale score should be 450. For example, even if you score 400 in domain 1, 550 in domain 2, you can still pass. So it is not required to. And more from questions perspective, when you are starting the examination, your questions for 1 to 150 is set already, meaning it is not an aptitude oriented test, where the difficulty level of the next question depends on how you answer the current question. So that is not predominantly in ISACA examinations per se. Your 150 questions is already set when you start the examination. And while writing the examination, you will not know what the marks or the points each question has. If you are able to tackle a difficult question right, then your scoring will increase huge. But if you answer a easy question correctly, then probably it will range around 250. So it depends on how you are able to. But at any point in time, you will not know which chapter the question is asked, and which what is the scoring for that question. You will not know. So that is expected from the students. Per se, I would suggest when you have 4 hours of an examination, take 50 questions, take a break. Break is just going out for 2 3 minutes, or even max of 5 minutes, then coming back, having a fresh air, come back with fresh mind and start ahead with the new set of questions. So why is that? Normally you carry over your mindset from the previous question to the next question, so that anxiety level will be slight high. So you have to mature enough to handle that kind of a situation, where even though the first 50 may not be that much encouraging, probably you are taking the next 50 sets, so each question should be attempted individually. So at any point in time, let you not decide on the result, what is going to be my result. So that is not predominantly done. Generally, I tell my students, though you are clear with the concept, sometimes it is a mind game that works in. So you have to be resilient enough at that moment to take the examination. So you have prepared well, you have to give your best. Don't look for just on pass or not successful and all. It is more on possessing the knowledge that is more important. So the context is said, this is what is your syllabus, but more on gaining the knowledge out of the certification is more important per se. So don't look for directly on the results per se, let it be anything, but how you are taking a decision at a moment is more important. So look for that. Exam is available in multiple languages, not to just test you on your language proficiency. It is still available on different languages, so you can take advantage of it. And more importantly, or the beauty of it is that on instant exam results, you will not wait for it for a long time. You will get it instantaneously after you press the submit button. You will get the results, but the results will be either successful or not successful. You will not get a detailed marks or anything out of there, and your results will be 99.99%. It will be the final one, it will not change. And once you do it, it will be logged in the system. But after 10 business days, you will get an official mail from ISACA on your domain wise scoring. For example, domain 1 450, domain 2 500, domain 3 550, something of that sort. So overall, it is not a mean. They calculated the scaled score somehow and they will give the total score. So for people who are successful, probably it is not of high importance for them because they are anyway successful. But for people who are not successful, they know their weak area or which domain they haven't prepared well. So that will be a helper for people like who are not successful or they have just missed it. Rather than just looking for where I have left, at least they will have a clarity now so that they can prepare well for the next attempt. Yeah, so all these are on the admin aspect as to how you have to prepare, but predominantly, maybe the term that is used for the webinar is too catchy, that how to pass in first attempt. So obviously there is no shortcut for it. So refer to the materials, prepare well, be strong on your concepts. More importantly, these kind of a certifications, memorizing or anything wouldn't help. It is more on how strong on your concepts. You will appreciate it when you actually write the examination. You will not find a single question from the books that you had, but you will be a better decision maker at that moment. So there is no shortcut for it. It is more on how you are able to gain your confidence by way of the hard work and the knowledge that you have gained throughout the journey of 2 or 3 months or even more than that. So you will get that gut feeling when I'm ready for the examination. Okay, I'm clear with the concept, let me just test on the concept. So that is more important. uh, don't make a costlier mistake because I know it involves a lot of cost as well. So put in your hardcore efforts on it. At any moment you will feel that gut feeling, okay, I'm ready to write. So then trust on it, then you can book the examinations and write it. So there is no shortcut for it. This is how the preparation should be. So domain wise scores will be sent, and exam fee perspective, so you have to pay either 575 or $760. So if you are a member fee is around $150 per year. So if you are going to just take one certification per year, getting this membership may not be that helpful, but you have some advantage of being a member. So there are some materials that are available, there are some references that you have for a member. So but in general, if you are just planning for one certification per year, may not be that beneficial on a monetary perspective on the exam fee. And it is a one time fee, not a refundable one. So that's predominantly on the exam requirements. This is what is expected out of a CISA aspirant. Yeah. Okay. Now we have some kind of mock test, I mean, mock questions here to discuss fairly on 3 or 4 questions, just to give a flavor as to how the questions will be framed and how is that you need to approach a question rather than just, this is not like a jackpot or a crorepati, right? You are just given a question. How you have to take or read the question. So, and you have to digest the question, and how is that you need to approach a question, that is more important from an exam perspective, because you're not asked on question which is right or wrong. You are now going to take a decision as an auditor. You would have heard about this famous phrase, when you take up as CISA, think like an auditor when you're doing a CISA certification, right? So that is what it means. You have to take a decision at that moment. How will you take a specific scenario and you need to respond to it. So that is what is more important, because that's why you don't have one straightforward answer to it. So these are some ways by which you have to approach the question. I would strongly suggest for all the 150 questions where you have around 1.5 minutes for each of the question per se, you need to do all these steps for each question individually, and this should be a discipline that you have to bring in for yourself to do it. As easy let it look like, but you need to diligently do all the steps to ensure that you don't miss on any point. So whenever the question is asked, have a plain reading of the question. What does that mean? I know, Ashwini, I just read the question, but why is that? Generally, on first reading, you will be more anxious to answer or jump into answers. Don't do that. So first, understand the English out of it. Let it be any language that you read it. Get yourself comfortable with the question. So rather than just thinking of when you read whether it is from one, four, five, I don't know. So first, plainly read the question whether you are able to understand the question. There are not going to be big words. There are not going to be different language testing that is done. It is a plain language that is tested. No difficult words will be used. So first, have a plain reading of the question. Find the domain from which the question is asked. Why you need to look for it? Because when you practice, even at let it be in ISACA question database, you will have it domain wise. So your knowledge will be restricted. Okay, I am reading domain one. The questions which I am reading is from domain one. So you narrow down your your questions or your knowledge to that. But in the vast ocean, in the question, you will not know which domain the question is from. So your knowledge base is now on 1000 pages or 1500 pages, but whereas when you practiced, it is only 100 pages, because you restrict, yes, this is going to be from this 100 pages, right? So first, corner on which domain the question is asked. Sometimes it might be tricky that this question is from multiple domains, domain 1 and 4. Sometimes we never know. So find or restrict your knowledge where I need to refer to in my mind, in which domain it is in. Identify the keyword and stage of the question. This is the most important step, because your options or your answer will define based on from whose point of view the question is asked. What is the first, what is the most, what is more important? So in the initial stage, in the planning stage, in the final step, all these are the keywords, because at any point in time you should know where you need to take a decision at what stage. That is more important. For sure your answers will differ based on the stage and the keyword. So this is a very important step that you have to do. Now read the question again with the options. Now you are now exploring on or reading with trying to apply the knowledge that you have gained. So you have done with plain reading, you have done all the three steps. Now it is on a matured reading of a question. Now you will have a better clarity. So understand the concept behind each option. So now read the option. Each option you will never pinpoint and say that this is wrong, this is wrong because of some reason. This will not be entirely wrong, this will be right, there is a gray area, but not the best option based on the keyword. So understand the concept behind each option, and whenever you go for an elimination approach on all the four options, you will go for an elimination approach. Which option is wrong, so you will eliminate. While you eliminate, you need to justify yourself as to why you say this option is wrong. That is more important. And even when you practice it, it is good to make note of why you are saying this specific option is wrong. That is more important. So keep on eliminating, you will be left with the last two options. Then there will be a thin line of difference to say one is right because of the keyword, because of the concept, because of the stage of the question. So finalize on one, then lock for that answer. This is how you are supposed to do. Maybe when I explain, it may take 2 or 3 minutes, but when you do it as a discipline, you can easily cover this in 1.5 minutes. Okay. Question number one. Company has contracted with an external consulting firm to implement a commercial financial system to replace its existing system developed in-house. In reviewing the proposed development approach, which of the following would be of a greatest concern? Acceptance testing is to be managed by users. Quality plan is not part of deliverables. Not all business functions will be available on initial implementation. Prototyping is being used to confirm the system meets the business requirements. Yeah. So this question is specifically from domain 3, where we discuss on the various testing part. So what are the various types of testing that we do? So in this, you will have a testing called as QAT and UAT. So that is more important, quality assurance testing and user acceptance testing. So that is more important. Whenever you replace that, it should be a greatest concern where quality is not part of the contracted deliverables. So not all business functions will be available on initial implementation, which is fair enough. So whenever you implement a new system, not every feature and everything will be available on day one. So that is a very common one, not a concern. Acceptance testing is to be managed by users. That is the right approach. Acceptance testing should be done by the end users to test on whether their requirement has been satisfied by the system. So that is as well acceptable. Prototyping is being used to confirm that system meets the business requirement. So that is also usual. Prototyping mean considering the feedback from the customers and trying to apply that in the system before the final product is released. Right? That is also right in doing. It is not a concern. So not all business units is also eliminated. A is also eliminated. B is the right answer. Quality plan is not part of contracted deliverables is the right answer here. So B is the right answer here. So you have to read through. So generally you will have justification like this. So your justification will be like this. So on justifying why your answer is right and how the other options are wrong. So this is the key. In each question you have to look for this kind of a justification. Only then you can be aware as to why you have gone right or why you have gone wrong in a specific option. So that is more important in understanding. So for this question, B is the right answer. Which are the following types of testing that would determine whether a new or modified system can operate in its targeted environment without adversely impacting the existing systems? So, parallel testing, pilot testing, interface and integration testing, then sociability testing. Yes, on this question, whenever you know, see, it is not an easy question. You need to understand all the four types of testing. So only when you have a clarity on all the four types of testing, you will be able to attempt this question. So what is parallel testing? You have both the old system, new system running together. At a point in time, you run both. Once you are comfortable with the new system, you decommission the old system. That is what is called parallel testing. So that understanding should be available. What is pilot testing? Pilot testing is that very basic level testing. After you do the alpha testing, you do a basic structure of the system. Once it is ready to some extent, maybe for 40-50%, you do a pilot testing before you further develop the product to see whether the customers or the users are comfortable with the system. So it is in between. It is a midway, not at the initial stage, not at the final stage. That is at the mid stage. That is on the pilot testing. Interface and integration testing, how one system is able to, or how one module in the system is able to interact well with the other modules in the system. So that is within the system. So within the system you have various modules and sub modules, how it is able to interact with each other. That is what is called integration and interface testing. What is sociability testing? System 1, if it is implemented, how it is going to affect system 2, a different system. Yeah, so you have one system. You, for example, have a Teams in your laptop. You have another application in your laptop. If you make any change in Teams, how it is going to impact the other application. So that is what is called sociability testing. How one application or system is going to be social with the other system. That is what is called as sociability testing. That is what is the question on target environment without adversely impacting the other existing system. So the answer to it is sociability testing. So you need to have understanding of all the four to finalize on a one single one. So it will not take much time if you are clear with the concepts, but this clarity of knowledge is what is expected from a CISA aspirant. Okay, the next question. So, the information security policy that states each individual must have their badge read at every control door addresses which of the attack methods. Why you have implemented such kind of a control in the organization? For example, as simple as that, when you enter into your organization, you have to swipe your smart card and then only enter, right? So, this is to avoid what? Piggybacking, shoulder surfing, dumpster diving, impersonation. So this is specifically to avoid tailgating. You would have seen tailgating, no trespassing, no piggybacking. Piggybacking is that, for example, imagine you are going out as a friends for five people. You just wipe in your card, another four as well enter. right? So that is what is called tailgating. That is what is piggybacking. Someone is having an uncontrolled access just following you, right? Piggybacking is someone following you at the back, just gaining unauthorized access with your access mechanism. That is what is called piggybacking. So every people should swipe in their card and then only enter. That is what is piggybacking. Someone Piggybacking is someone authorized who are following you at the back and trying to gain a physical entry by using your access mechanism. So that is piggybacking. That's why you should have a bad system at every control room. Shoulder surfing. Shoulder surfing is as simple as that. Imagine that someone at the back of your shoulder looking for a system to gain some unauthorized access. How? For example, you are using your net banking system, or you are standing in an ATM typing your PIN. Someone at the back end is looking for as to what you're typing. What is the PIN that you're typing? That is what is called shoulder surfing. Someone at the back looking for some personal or private information to gain unauthorized access. Yeah, that is what looking for passwords, pins, OTPs at Burma backend. That is what is called shoulder surfing. Dumpster diving, by using of dumps, dustbins, some information that is left out. For example, if you take some kind of couriers which will have your name, address, phone number, your pan sometimes, so this normally it is good to be crushed in or good to be shredded and then thrown out, right? If you don't do, probably you are just giving in some information to a third party where this can be misused. That is what is called dumpster diving. You get some private informations or important information from dumps. Impersonation is more of fake representation. That is what is called impersonation, like phishing, yeah, or phone phishing or email phishing. That is impersonation. So each kind of attack methods you should be have a better clarity to attempt on the final answer. So this is how you have to practice your question, where you have to be having clarity on each of the methods or each of the concept that you are looking through. So A is the right answer for this question. When reviewing a digital certificate verification process, which of the following finding represents the most significant risk? There is no registration authority for reporting compromises. The certificate revocation list is not current. Digital certificates contain a public key that is used to encrypt messages and verify digital signature. Subscribers report key compromises to the certification authority. So, as an auditor, whenever you are asked a question, you should be more concerned about CIA, confidentiality, integrity, availability, and how to protect the information assets of the organization. So, that is what you need to have in your mind when you attempt any question. Yeah, more significant risk per se is on the CRL not current. CRL meaning certificate revocation list. So, for example, CRL is maintained for public key and the respective private key. When a private key is being lost, so when a key is being compromised, then you have to include that key pair as part of the CRL. Unless otherwise you do it, if you have a public key, then it can be misused, or it can be used for some unauthorized access or misappropriation. So whenever you have lost your private key or your private key is compromised for any reason, you have to get it's updated as part of the certificate revocation list. So you will study this as part of domain 5, where you will learn about digital certificate, digital signatures and all. So where more importance is to be given to the CRL, certificate revocation list. So you need to have clarity on all the topics, on all the concepts that you learn. So it is not as such a difficult certification, but yes, you need a deeper understanding of all the concepts that you learn. So just to give a flavor as to how you have to read a question, how you have to attempt it. So similar fashion as well, you need to prepare. You have to be mentally prepared enough in doing all the steps diligently when you attempt a question. That's the reason for giving 4 hours for 150 questions. Else you would have covered 1.5 hours all the 150 questions if it is just choosing on options. Yeah, it needs, though it is not a subjective examination, it makes you to think, and you have to look for from a deeper conceptual perspective when you try to attempt the examination. Yeah, so hope so I have brought in as to a clarity on you as to how you have to attempt the examination. Probably the term can be little catchy, but there is no shortcut to it. This is how you have to diligently prepare for the examination to be successful enough.